Real Estate Radio TV, the web radio 100% dedicated to real estate.
Welcome to Real Estate Radio TV, the web radio dedicated to real estate, for a new interview. In today's interview, we have here to welcome Romain Sinclair. Romain Sinclair, a licensed real estate salesperson inside the Greysteel company, to talk to us a little bit about his company, his job inside the Greysteel company, and the commercial real estate market in New York. Hi, how are you today?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right, to start off, could you tell us exactly what do you do inside the Greysteel company for our viewers?
Sure thing. So I'm a commercial real estate broker in New York City. I sell apartment buildings all across the 5 boroughs, Manhattan and Brooklyn, the Bronx, apartment buildings, as well as the retail in the apartment buildings, also land.
And how is that exactly different from what a typical broker would do?
Well, I think that on a lot of these podcasts, the brokerage is focused on condos or apartments or, single family, whereas I find the returns can actually be significantly higher and the risk minimized if you go with multifamily. So buying the whole building, maybe an owner who's had it for 20 years, a family, and the rents are good, but they could probably be increased by 20%. Something like that on average. And if you buy that, the risk is minimized because it's across many tenants, and you have an opportunity to really increase the rents and the value of the property.
Yeah, so you think it's better like a return to investment wise to invest in a whole building than simply a condo, for example, or maybe a single home family?
Absolutely, yeah, especially with the condo market now. I mean, it's very hard to say where it's going at any given time. I think it's easy to lose money on a condo, but if you buy the right multifamily investment, I think it's fairly numbers driven, and you can make the investment by looking at the numbers and feel comfortable you're making a good deal.
And like you told us in the beginning, you were specialized in the New York area. What unique things the New York real estate market has to offer, maybe compared to other places or other states?
So New York is great because the public sale records are all public, so you can see everything that's going on if you just know where to look, which I think is insanely cool for the beginner or the outsider. New York is very nice because you have extremely high occupancy, right? It's always filled because everybody's in New York. Even now, occupancy rate is extremely high across New York City. And finally, you have one of the highest appreciation levels in the world. Right, from one year to the next, you can see things go up 20%, and in boom economies, over a 3-year period, I've seen buildings double in value.
Yeah, New York is New York. It's a worldwide place that everybody knows, and it's just famous for everything. And also, I know you accompany a francophone investor to invest in the U.S. Why would someone want to invest in the U.S.?
Absolutely, great question. I think the U.S. Offers higher returns than may be available in some places in France, especially places like Paris that have very strict controls on how high you can build. I think there's a 7-story cap on how tall the buildings can be. They have to follow a certain format to fit in with the style of the properties. And I think in the U.S., it's sort of the Wild West where, as a private investor, you can do what you want with the property, and you can really get some significant upside. One of the things that I think is the coolest is the 1031 exchange, which means that if you sell a property in the United States, you will get zero capital gains taxation, right? Essentially very limited tax, as long as you reinvest it into a bigger property. And that is the biggest cheat code to real estate investing, in my opinion. And that's why I'd recommend going to the U.S.
And also, you can maybe talk a little bit about the buying process. I know in the U.S. it's much faster than in Europe or in Canada. Could you maybe talk about how long does it take to actually buy a building and a property in the U.S.?
Sure thing. So it just depends on the asset that you're purchasing, right? A hotel is going to be different from an apartment building. It's going to be different from like a two-family home. But in essence, as the purchaser, you might want to use a broker. You find the broker, he'll send you properties that you like, you review them, you make an offer, right? You sign a written piece of paper, you submit the offer. The seller will oftentimes counter you or accept the offer. Once you accept the offer, you enter into a contract of sale, purchase and sale agreement, and that will outline all the conditions. So let's say that you get a mortgage. A lot of the investors may do all cash, but if you get a mortgage, sometimes you're able to say, I will buy the property at $1 million, but I will only buy it if I'm able to get the mortgage. So that's all outlined in the contract. You say I have 45 days to do that, and then once that time comes, your deposit becomes non-refundable. Okay, and then 15 days or 30 days after you have the lender agreed to fund your deal, then you will pretty much close on the property. Your attorney will draft up the documents, and the loan will come in, pay off the seller, and then you will gain title to the property. It's fairly smooth.
Yeah, the process can be really fast, especially if you're accompanied by a real estate professional like yourself. Could you maybe give a little bit of information and insights about recent deals that you accomplished? Give us some numbers and some insights.
Sure thing, yeah. So the New York market, even though it's a little bit slower, is still one of the most dynamic, I would say, in the United States and in the world for that matter. I mean, there's literally billions of dollars trading hands. Most recent deal that I did, I closed one last week, but before that, I sold a corner mixed-use building in Brooklyn with air rights. So it was 4 stores and then 3 apartments on top of the building. And it was very interesting because this was during COVID, right? So a lot of the stores were shut, and the buyer was using a loan to buy the property. So it was a little tricky to get it done. But ultimately, lenders are lending on deals again, and they were able to close on the loan in the middle of the pandemic. I was able to get 17 written offers for the deal. We were able to sell it at 96% of the ask price. And this is a COVID deal with retail, with half of the income going into retail. So it wasn't necessarily easy, but I think right now there are buyers who are betting on 10-year timelines for appreciation to pick up in New York, and they're out, they're looking.
That's pretty incredible. And I know during this crisis there's been some issues, with tenants not being able to pay, lenders not being able to pay back the lenders. How did you manage all that, and what is your attitude moving forward?
Yeah, I think that one of the big things is just getting everybody comfortable and working with folks who know about the local area. If you're coming from France or if you're coming from somewhere else, you want to make sure you partner up with local guys. I know in Cleveland, Thibault has this operation where they're basically selling turnkey homes for the investor to just buy, and they're very clued in to the Cleveland market. I do the same thing in New York. I'm very, very aware of what's going on, and I know the lenders who will lend on properties that I'm selling. And in the pandemic, we actually worked with a lender on this deal who had clients who owned like a block down, within 1,000 feet from this property. So he understood the situation. He could pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, are your retail tenants paying rent? Okay. Well, do they expect to start paying soon? Oh, okay, I understand. And the lenders are a very important part of the deal because they ended up putting about 60% of the money for the deal. So we were really making sure that it was very important that they were on board. So I think making sure you're working with local knowledge, local experts who can plug you in and make sure that the most optimistic and enthusiastic folks are working on it.
Yeah, it's obviously you have to make sure you work with local guys and professionals like you that are specialists in a certain area and work with different professional lenders. Thank you very much for coming in for this interview, a very interesting interview about the real estate market in New York and multifamily investing. Guys, don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms for the latest news and information, and download our app on the App Store and enjoy it anytime, anywhere. See you guys soon.
Thank you.
Real Estate Radio TV, the web radio 100% dedicated to real estate.